Good morning again to all of you. And on behalf of the Spanish Chamber of Commerce, I'd like to give you a warm welcome to this morning's webinar about all you need to know to stay protected against cybersecurity threats in today's scenario. Before we proceed with the matter in question, I would like to kindly remind that this session is being recorded so that we can share it with you later. And throughout the duration of the session, you can submit your questions via the Q&A function that you see just below, and they will be answered by our speakers following their presentation. Now it's time to begin. Before we start, and to provide some context, according to the Microsoft Digital Defense Report, customers face more than 600 million cyberattacks per day, spanning everything from phishing to ransomware. 80% of organizations have attack paths that put their most critical assets at risk. 53% of cyber attacks reported in 2025 were a system intrusion, and the average cost of a data breach was $0.444 million in 2025. So in a world where the battlefield is the digital arena, we must stay on top of news about cybersecurity in order to protect ourselves and our businesses. This is what our speakers today are going to try to help us with. I now welcome Ms. Irma Gamero, Key Account Manager of our member company, Safe Computing. She's replacing Pepe Cantalejo today. Safe Computing is a Spanish company specialized in secure cloud solutions and advanced cybersecurity services. And today is also with us Mr. Borja Perez from Stormshield. They will guide us on how to prepare for the cyber attack that is yet to come. Now, without further ado, I'll give the floor to Irma. Thank you.
Thanks, Miriam, for your presentation. And thank you to the team at the Spanish Chamber of Commerce for organizing this event and for giving us the opportunity to be here. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'd like to share a brief overview of Safe Computing to show who we are and what we do. Sorry. We started in 2008 with one clear goal: to help companies in their transition to the digital world. Over the last 15 years, we have been continuously including new services and solutions to adapt alongside the dynamic digital environment. At Safe Computing, we offer complete IT services, which include cloud computing, preventive and corrective maintenance for systems and equipment, and of course, cybersecurity. We hold several international standards, such ISO 9001 for quality, ISO 14001, ISO 27001 for information security. Furthermore, we actively guide our clients through their own certification processes. In the field of the cybersecurity, in our experience shows that cyber attacks has become a constant reality for businesses. Consequently, the discussion is no longer about protecting against them to minimize damage, but about recovering as swiftly as possible after an incident. Because one thing is absolutely certain: an attack will happen. So it's important to understand that these attacks don't always begin with major explosion. In fact, very often they begin with something as simple as a phishing email, a fake link, or a weak password. These small entry points, alongside more complex threats, such as ransomware or stolen credentials, have unfortunately become the preferred weapons of cybercriminals. Adding to this, the increasing sophistication of generative artificial intelligence makes attacks faster, smarter, and harder to detect. Today, cyber attacks are a big risk for all companies. One attack can cause serious problems: money loss, damage to the company's good name, and stopping normal business work. For all these reasons, True and effective protection demands a complete approach, one that covers prevention, detection, response, and of course, recovery. So now Borja from Stormshield will get deeper into this critical topic. So I'm glad to present Borja. Borja, the stage
Thank you very much, Emma.
is yours.
I'll start my my presentation. Okay. So, thank you very much, everyone, for attending this meeting, this webinar. Thank you very much to the Spanish Chamber for organizing it. I am Borja Perez. I'm country manager for Stormshield in Iberia. Stormshield, first of all, let me introduce ourselves. It's a cybersecurity company. We develop and produce different cybersecurity solutions. And we are a company that belongs 100% to the Airbus group. So we have a strong background in industry and cybersecurity. Before going ahead and explaining how we can protect ourselves from all those attacks that Miriam was talking about at the beginning of the webinar, we can take a look at the current situation. This is a snapshot of the attacks that are being produced at this moment. This is taken from our website. This is a URL that shows real time the malicious IP addresses that we are detecting and where they are operating from. Okay, so as you can see, if you connect to this page, is that there is constant attacks or attack attempts from almost every corner of the world and attacking every single country in the world. Of course, we cannot forget about the complex geopolitical situation in which we are right now. I remember years ago we talked about how every act, every event in the real world would have an replica in the online world. Today, we cannot split between physical and online world. If you see the Ukraine and Russia war, for instance, the cyber war is part of the regular war. It's not something that is a consequence. Okay, so when we talk about cybersecurity, we can choose any from the news. We can choose any incident very easily from the last weeks. I've taken this one, the Jaguar Land Rover incident, because of the impact it's having not only in the company itself, that it's been huge, but also in all the companies and all the providers that work for Jaguar Land Rover. So what we've seen with this attack is that they've used, or the criminals have used real valid credentials from employees, and they've also taken advantage of vulnerabilities of legitimate applications. That's more and more typical. This is something that we see more and more, that this cyber crime is using vulnerabilities that are present in legitimate applications, operating systems, or even the browser. So I'll insist on this topic later on, but it is important to have updated applications, that everything is properly patched so we can protect ourselves better from these attacks. I won't go too much into technical details at this point with this cyber attack, but given the date when it was produced, beginning of September, end of August, it seems that the criminals were inside the company time ago. So they were waiting for the time that could be more harmful for the company. So that's why they launched it at the end of August, because of the importance of the September month for car manufacturers. Of course, this has had a huge impact in the company itself, in providers. Even the government is, the UK government is taking action. Even unions were asking for similar measures from the government as when the COVID crisis. Now, Inma was talking about artificial intelligence. So what we are seeing with artificial intelligence, first of all, it's an incredible growth on phishing emails using ChatGPT, for instance, or any LLM. As I was saying, they have used valid credentials in Jaguar Land Rover, so they've probably been able to trick some employee to provide these credentials, and they have used them to do the attack. It is not longer that artificial intelligence provides the ability to make faster or more complex attacks, but it also lowers the entry barrier to criminals. So anyone with some basic knowledge could launch an attack today. And as some example of AI attacks, well, I use these because this is something that we suffer in our company. So this lady in the picture, Marie-Amélie Béranger, that seems to be someone working in the cybersecurity department of our company, does not exist. This is a fake profile created to be used in social networks or to trick someone to give some information to her that, to that criminal that shouldn't be shared. I'm talking about phishing attacks, so that's email, but we are seeing with AI, we see attacks simulating voice and even video. Okay. We'll share this presentation, implication of deepfakes here. This is a link to an example. I won't run it today because I think we should keep short the webinar, but it could be interesting for you to watch it later. Okay, I was talking about artificial intelligence attacks, but we need to be aware of classical attacks. I don't know, at this point of time, we don't know if in the Jaguar Land Rover attack, AI has been used, but it's not necessary. So they can have used a classical physical attacks. Then they have exploited some vulnerability of the existing application. Something in big companies, or moreover in industrial companies, there's something difficult, that is to really know what the assets of the company are. So there are so many assets that many times the company does not know what is deployed in their infrastructure. There are wrong configurations, especially when you don't know what's connected to your network. We see default passwords all of the time, even in, for instance, in hospitals, the video surveillance cameras with default passwords, and that camera may be connected to the same network as the hospital network. It's always necessary to conduct risk analysis periodically, even to do some simulations, some like fire drills. Just as we do fire drills, we should do cybersecurity drills periodically. And at the end, this is a question many times of following the right procedures. So from doing regular backups and test them to these drills I'm talking about. And finally, to choose the best solutions and with the best partners as safe computing to deploy in my company. This may change the needs from one company to another, of course. So going into matter and going into what we can do to protect ourselves against any kind of a cyber attack. What we are going to talk today is about XDR. XDR is an architecture, is not a solution, is not a product. This is a way to deploy solutions, a way to interact, a way to use the information that I can collect from my assets to protect my company. So XDR is an acronym for Extended Detection and Remediation, because what we are looking for with this kind of architecture is detect if there is any attack going on in my company, and to be able to roll back to remediate any attack that has been produced. Okay. So another issue that is important, especially in large companies, is that a large company may have a team, a cybersecurity team, but they are receiving so much information that it's sometimes difficult to filter what is important and what is not important from the cybersecurity point of view. Especially with these sophisticated attacks that we see more and more. So what an XDR architecture tries to do is to collect all the information that we can gather from our network security appliances, from our endpoint protection agents, even from third-party cyber threat intelligence databases, as we saw in the map that I was showing in the first slide with the attacks coming from different IP networks. That is information that we can gather, we can put into this XDR architecture, where we have what is called in cybersecurity a SIEM, Security Incident Event Manager. That SIEM is going to collect logs and analyze them, so it will not provide or it will not throw an alert any time that they see something strange, but they will correlate all the information and see if it could match an attack. If that's the case, that XDR architecture will provide through playbooks different changes in configuration, different changes in the endpoints, even isolation of the impacted asset, so we can protect ourselves from that attack. When I was saying that the SIEM will not jump when some log is provided, and the SIEM has to be able to differentiate between an incident and an event, even if it's an unusual event. It's like when we go to the doctor and we get an analysis and blood sample, and some parameter may be high, but it may make sense because of the medication we are having. So that's something that the SIEM does. Okay, it may see some unusual activity, but if it's related to some process that is being carried out in the company, will not send an alert. If it is something that should really or is really strange and out of order, some activity out of working time and coming from a strange country, it'll send us an alert. Not only sending an alert to the administrator, to the network administrator or the security administrator, but also providing some remediation actions to defend or to protect ourselves. Okay, so this goes a little bit more technical, but when I was talking in the previous slide about network security, in the past, we were talking about classical firewalls that filter who can connect and where it can connect to and from. Now it does a lot more functionalities, connecting different branches from our company, choosing the best path based on the performance, making sure that if I connect from a device, that device is properly configured, is up to date with these antivirus and so on. Okay, this is a little bit of Stormshield offering regarding firewalls that goes from small appliances in branches to big modular models, but I will not go into details. Another important piece in an XDR solution, so this is the firewall, the network part. Then we have the endpoint protection, endpoint detection and remediation. And these are agents that are deployed in every laptop or every computer in our company, and provides different functionalities, from monitoring what's going on my endpoint to response, like blocking some attempt to gather information from my laptop, or even to search for strange behavior and block it if necessary. So we cover the network security and the endpoint security, and then this is what I was calling a SIEM, Security Incident Event Manager. We can see the different dashboards. This is the information relevant for our cybersecurity team. And as I was saying, it's not just managing logs, but managing incidents. So the SIEM gathers all the relevant information from a specific incident and shows it in dashboards or sends the corresponding alert to the cybersecurity team. Okay, what I think is more interesting, I'll take 5 or 10 minutes to explain some use cases of this kind of architecture. How this architecture will react when some kind of attacks are produced. This is a classical one, malicious USB keys. It is less and less usual to have these kind of attacks because organizations are well prepared to detect these, but still there is some social engineering to provide malicious or to provide malware through USBs. Years ago, I remember some in some company in the US that someone dropped some USB keys in the parking lot. So people took those USB keys and took minutes to start inserting them into their laptops and getting some malware. These are the in the case of these USB malicious USB keys. What the cyber criminal is doing, they install a dropper in the USB key. A dropper is a kind of software that will try to connect to a command and control center outside our organization, of course, and from there download the viral load. So some classical antivirus may not be able to detect the dropper. And once we are in, once the criminal is in with that dropper, can download the viral load and then do the exploitation in the laptop. Once these criminals are inside, as we saw in the Jaguar Land Rover case, they start moving from one endpoint to another, from one laptop, from one computer to another. This is what we call lateralization. And they look for the right computer. They may look for they may enter, let's say, through the engineering department and move to the production department and then cause the damage they were trying to cause. So what an XDR architecture would do, first of all, it would block the USB key, so it cannot be, the attack cannot be started. But it will not only block it in the computer where it's been installed, but in any other computer in our organization. If that USB key tries to be inserted in another computer, the XDR is already aware of this USB key and will not allow it to be to throw any attack. And if we are talking about XDR solution, it sees what the malware is trying to attempt, and it will not only block the USB key, but it will block the IP address of the command and control server, that server where the dropper downloads the malware from. So all the assets in my network, all the computers, all the firewalls will block that IP, and a connection to that command and control server will not be possible. In the case that the attack would have been initially successful, XDR architecture provides ways to roll back to a situation where the malware was not present. So we need some backups and recover from that from a previous step. Okay, so malicious file would be what we were talking about. Maybe the malicious file arrives from the internet through some browsing, some website, and when it tries to launch the attack, the EDR solution will see that there's an illegitimate process going on and will block it. And then it will do the same. Will share the information with the SIEM and will block the command and control IP address, and will let all the computers in the network that process is present, and it will try to attack. And then again, as we saw before, if there's been some infected computer, that computer can be isolated, and we can do a rollback to a safe configuration. And then, as this computer is isolated and remediated, it also the SIEM will look for different IOCs, indicators of compromise inside the network, to launch the preventive solutions. And something that it's also quite common to see are denial of service attacks, especially for those of you who have a strong presence in the web, or do trade in the web, or you are finance companies. You may be subtle to a DOS attack, so it doesn't let you operate in your normal way. So when your server is under a DDoS attack, the first D is for distributed denial of service from multiple connections. We need to do different things. First of all, control where those attacks are coming from. What are the IP addresses? We may have it in our reputation IP address table. We may not, and we may need to add these new ones. And when we see that the number of connections from to a specific server is strangely high, we can enable protection limitations. So, for instance, not allow more than 1,000 connections per second or something like that. Another thing that we have seen in our case, in the Jaguar Land Rover, is the lateralization phase. So once the criminals were inside, they've been trying to move from one computer to another in the company, looking for sensitive data, looking for maybe production computers to stop the production, and so on. So what we need to do is to, if we see that we see abnormal attempts of connection from one computer in a network to another, we check that with the EDR. We will again isolate the workstation, see if that one has been affected. We will do a rollback, and then we will make sure that the critical resources are properly connected. So that's all from my side. Thank you very much for your attention. My apologies if I've been too technical, but we are here to solve any questions you may have, either using the chat or if you want, you can send us your questions later on through our email.
Thank you very much, Borja. Thank you, Inma Gameiro, as well, for sharing your expert knowledge. We will now open the floor to questions, as Borja was mentioning. So, as I mentioned, you can send your questions throughout the Q&A function. I'll be reading them out loud, and in case you want to continue the conversation, you'll have their email addresses later on, so that you can go deep or deeper in your questions should you need it. Borja, to break the ice, to start with the questions, I'd like to ask you how we can detect that we've had unwanted access. Sometimes when they want to be unnoticed. So how can we know it if we don't have these kind of systems that alerts us? Is it possible?
Okay. No, we need some kind of tool. As I was mentioning, I'm 100% sure that companies like Jaguar Land Rover has cybersecurity measures on place. But what the problem is normally is that you may have different cybersecurity solutions. You may have limited resources in terms of people, and even in companies, especially in industrial companies, some assets that you don't even know that are connected to your network. But going back to the basics, for any company, I would say that you need first of all do a risk analysis. What can be attacked in my company? What would have a deeper impact? So first we have what are the possibilities that we have an attack on these sensitive assets? That's the first thing. Second, to keep backups of everything. I mean, and I'm not selling anything from Stormshield. We don't do backups and so on, but it's important to have backups and test them regularly, because we see sometimes that when we suffer an attack and we try to roll back to the backup we had, that backup is not functioning properly. So that could be a big problem. Then you need some protection in your endpoints, some protection in your network. So at least having some basic solutions in place. If not, it's very difficult. I mean, it is difficult even having solutions in place. So imagine not having anything. I mean, that company is dead.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. We have a question from Jose Saras. I'm gonna give her the floor now because yeah, he's here. So I think we can
Hi,
hear him.
Borja. Thank you very much for your presentation. I don't think it was too technical. It was interesting. So I have actually two questions, if I'm allowed. The first one is how you've mentioned that since the explosion of AI tools, the risk has or the attacks have increased exponentially. And so, what's the role of AI in cybersecurity as a measure, as a way to improve cybersecurity services? So are the new cybersecurity tools AI powered? So how do you see the AI as a tool to improve security?
Yes, that's a good question, Jose. AI is at the end is a tool. You can use it to do
Of course.
good or to do evil, so as we see in cybercrime. So yes, cybersecurity providers are using AI, for instance, doing analysis of these logs. There's a huge amount of inputs coming from our networks, on our assets, and it's difficult for a human to process all that information. So that's one basic use. I would say that's more machine learning than AI, but then there are some in threat hunting that there's quite a bit of artificial intelligence. But Jose, I'm quite. I think there's quite a hype with artificial intelligence. It's something that we are using every day, but sometimes we are suffering from classical attacks. So, I mean, default passwords, not putting into place very basic cybersecurity solutions. Or even if I go more into technical details, when we develop Stormshield endpoint security, that's our EDR, we are looking at a very low level in the computer. We are looking at the kernel level, because at kernel level, only 38 kinds of actions, of malicious actions, can be taken. So we are looking at those 38, 40 kind of attacks, low-level attacks, and we can protect a computer just looking at that. So we have huge number of malicious attacks every day. I mean, virus total, we're talking about 500,000 different attacks a day. But they all go through a funnel that have to go through the kernel and do this specific action. So yes, we are using AI but where it makes sense, not for every single action.
Thank you. And my second question, if I'm allowed, I think in one of your presentations I saw that one of the functionalities or one of the tools that you are using is VPNs. As a complement to other cybersecurity services. I'm aware that big companies would, have VPN or use VPNs just for all the communications. But I think for medium-sized companies, they might have a very resilient or decently resilient security, but sometimes they overlook that access through unsecured networks and things like that. Would a VPN be recommended for this, or do you see this as a typical vulnerability that is overlooked?
I would strongly recommend VPN connections between branches, or especially between. Now that we have so much remote workers.
Exactly, that was my point. Yes, more than of course between branches, yes, but just remote access by any employees, because now everyone is working from everywhere. Yeah.
But I think that there's no excuse to have a VPN for a remote worker, because you have free tools that are easy to manage and to deploy. So I would strongly recommend it. If you remember, during the COVID crisis, there was a big issue with companies that were working on site. Everyone was on premise, and they have to move home. And companies had to open access to all these workers so they could work from home and connect to their servers and so on. And there were huge number of attacks because those connections were not properly secure. Of course, those were decisions that had to be taken from one day to another, so there was no time to get ready. But today, I would strongly recommend that at least an SSL VPN, which is also something that, as I was saying, is free.
Okay, so
thank you very much.
should we all use the VPN even if we're working from home with our own Wi-Fi?
If you're connecting to your company's assets, yes, I would recommend that.
Okay, good to know. Good practices to include. I think, let me check, because we had Natasha with some questions as well. I think, Natasha, you can go ahead.
Hi, Inma. Hi, Borja. Thank you so much for your presentation. Really, really useful, really interesting. I've got a couple of questions, but first of all, I was wondering if a company has very basic security measures in place, what would you say the most common weaknesses are that still allow ransomware or phishing to succeed despite having the most basic form of cybersecurity? Do you think there are any common vulnerabilities that companies still underestimate?
I would say, and I think Inma will agree with me, I think that the human factor is always the most important. So my opinion, this is personal opinion, is that every company should conduct some awareness programs for their employees, just as there are some safety programs, so they know where they have to go if there's a fire or they have to leave the building. There should be some cybersecurity basic programs, and then I would say that that's the most common. As I was mentioning during my presentation, in the Jaguar Land Rover incident, they've used valid credentials of users. It is even sometimes for cybersecurity professionals, it's difficult sometimes to detect a phishing attempt. So first of all, I would say that awareness, employee awareness is key.
Yeah, I wanted to elaborate on this one. I wanted precisely to ask you if tools like yours or programs like yours would detect these, or is there any mechanism of detecting that is a legitimate source? There isn't, so that we have to detect the attack before they have access to our legitimate credentials. Otherwise,
yes.
It's not possible, is it?
Yes, of course. So awareness is key, but from the cybersecurity point of view, we have to behave as if the user would not have any knowledge. I mean, we cannot put the responsibility load on the employee's backs. So yes, as cybersecurity providers, our tools must be able to detect that this is a phishing attempt, and this is coming from an illegitimate address, even if it looks, I don't know, maybe someone could, how do you say, to fake Spanish chamber address and send an email as if it were you. Those are that there are cybersecurity tools that are able to detect that this is coming from one side or another. From the point of view of the user, so if they see that a typical case, an SMS that coming from a bank that which I don't work with, so I'm not clicking on that. So some basics for the users, but the load of the responsibility has to be on the cybersecurity solutions or cybersecurity providers.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Could we go back to the XDR solutions? I was wondering, can small and medium-sized businesses realistically integrate these, or do you think that sort of technology is still reserved for more for larger corporations, or is it more accessible than we might think?
No, I mean, companies like Safe Computing are working with mediums. They are working with large companies, but also with medium and small size companies. In that case, all these data collection and data correlation job is done by Safe Computing. They just deploy a small firewall or some agents in this small company. So we have many cases like that. So that's not something that always is more and more common. That cybersecurity, as any other IT service, is becoming a service for companies. So you don't need to deploy all these things. You may need to deploy some part of it, but it's a third party, a Safe Computing, that is going to take charge of that and make sure that you are protected.
Mm-hmm. Fernando, you have a question.
Oh, no.
Comments.
Yeah, I just yeah, well, first of all, thank you, Miriam and Natasha, for this opportunity. Also, Borja, for that insightful overview of the solution. I think that you have laid out of the challenge perfectly. So yeah, getting back to the question of Natasha, I think that yeah, in this case, in Safe Computing, we are a small company. We are about 9 person, and yeah, we have implemented some of these security options. And the most important thing is the awareness of the security, as also Borja has said. It doesn't depend of if you have a good technician or if the people is prepared for that, because with the artificial intelligence, they are making some attacks that are really difficult to find and really difficult to detect at the time. This is why maybe there are some kind of yeah, I think that there are some sorry, it's
Take
just
your
trying to
time, no
find.
problem.
Oh
No
yeah,
problem.
no, I just like trying to locate the word, because you know, you can use a honeypot. It's like deceiver, where you put some prints, some fingerprints for this is my, this is my one of my more important services. So if one attacker get into your network, they will find all the network. They will search for this system, this server, and will attack it. And then you know that it is not attacking a production server. It's more like a deceiver. I think that is the word, isn't it? So yeah, I think that any company in with any kind of size could be totally could accomplish this goal of be cybersecurity and resilience. But maybe they need some guidance that we could bring with Stormshield and from our, our our technicians. In fact, I'm pretty sure, Miriam, that we are deploying some security solution with the Spanish Chamber.
Very needed.
Yeah,
Very needed.
I don't know if it is really paying for you as
No,
a
it's not.
user.
As Borja said, we have to be trained and we have to be aware that things happen. So we cannot think that since we are
Yeah, you have to
small,
be
nothing
prepared for
will
that.
happen. As I think, as Inma mentioned, we have to all be aware that this will happen at a certain point. So we all have to be ready. We do it for many other aspects in our lives and at companies. So it's essential for us to learn as well. And even if it's it's a protocol, you have to follow some steps. And of course, things can be easier if you don't have these protocols. But I mean, on a daily basis. But like many other things that we do on our daily basis. But at the end of the day, if they are preventing us from suffering cyber attacks and from having bigger problems, God bless them.
Yeah.
Of course. I wanted to ask you, do we is there anything that we can do if the cyber attack comes from one of our tech suppliers or tech tools that we rely on? I'm thinking about, for example, SharePoint or Gmail or Outlook. If they are having the data breach and cyber attack comes from these suppliers, is there any way for us to have an alert to do it? I don't know if XDR can help with these or any other tools that we usually use.
Well,
Yes,
okay.
Fernando, excuse me.
Yeah,
I would like to take advantage on Miriam's question to talk about some regulation. In the European Union, there's a new regulation. Well, it should have been deployed 1 year ago. That is a NIS2, and this makes emphasis on providers. So it's not only you that must comply with some cybersecurity procedures, but you need your providers to comply with those cybersecurity requirements as well. But not only SharePoint or Google, as you were mentioning, that they will probably be properly cyber secure, but even, I don't know, some material supplier. So any company that is going to work with you, if you need to comply with this regulation, needs to make sure their procedures are cyber secure. So there's even from the legal point of view a requirement. And of course, I mean, this is a legal requirement, so there are legal consequences. If a provider of you suffers a breach, that they will have to compensate you some way. I'm not talking about pure cybersecurity. I'm talking more from the normative or legal side. Sorry, Fernando, that you were...
Makes sense.
I think saying it will be an error in the supply chain, but yeah, I think that the problem is more about the user always, because yeah, maybe they could get a data breach like the Salesforce one that they have not too much time ago, but yeah, usually they get the access through the user because they don't have a multi-factor configured correctly in their accounts, or yeah, maybe they use the default passwords, or maybe the problem is that they have more privileges or more access than they need. That this is also one of the premises of the cybersecurity, that you only need access to what you need to get.
Interesting. Yeah, it makes complete sense. Okay, thank you. Thank you both. Does anyone have any other questions at all? I don't know if Natasha had any other one, or maybe Jose, Barry, Francesca.
I'd like to build on Inma's point actually about it not being about whether there'll be a cyber attack, but when that happens. And I was wondering, specifically focusing on the UK and Spain, do we see any specific industries or any specific sectors that are most at risk? I don't know if we have statistics on that in both countries.
Okay, thank you, Natasha. Natasha, yes?
Yes, yeah.
I would like to be supported by my colleague, Fernando, to
Yeah,
answer these
okay.
questions.
Yeah, no
you.
problem. I think that usually the most
Thank you, Fernando.
yeah, no problem. The most risky business usually are the governments or the public ones. For example, as Borja should know that we have one customer that works on military. So yeah, we are trying to get them cyber resilience. So I don't think that nobody's gonna attack a little business. I think that they are going through hospitals. They are more like important mainframe. I'm pretty
Especially
sure,
that they have
yeah,
probably what would they be looking for there for just personal information, personal data, or the broader agenda that they can have probably in order for them to keep digging and get,
yeah.
I guess, to their bank accounts, or because I mean everything is because of money at the end of the day, isn't it? So
Yes, maybe.
when they
Yeah,
break to
I'm
the
pretty sure about
hospitals, for
that.
example.
I'm pretty sure that they don't need this personal information. I think that they know how damage could encrypt or block this data could make. Um, for example, if you stop an hospital, you are not only damage the image of the hospital, you are damaging also the people. I'm not sure of that this is the point, but I think that usually it's for the money and also get that. I don't know if maybe Borja has.
Yeah, I would make a difference between the kind of attacks. First of all, a very basic difference between targeted attacks that may be looking for a specific damage or a specific data from a company, and broadband attacks that they throw attack to see what they get, like fishing in the sea with it. So and going back to those more targeted attacks, what we see in the last months or the last couple of years, due to the geopolitical situation, government agencies are being attacked, as Fernando was mentioning, that's for sure. But I would say industrial companies are also under attack because traditionally they have not looked too much at cybersecurity. When you were talking about healthcare, that's a case to analyze. Years ago, even when COVID, some criminals were saying we are not attacking hospitals, that's not ethically approvable, but they are doing it now, and they have different targets. First one is that health information about people is expensive information. It's information that is well paid, better sometimes than the financial information. They can, how do you say that? They can extortion the hospital because they retrieve this data. They may make it public if they don't get ransom. But we've seen even these ransom attacks targeting the patients. If the hospital does not pay, they go for the patient. So we have your data. If you pay, we will not release it. If not, I remember some psychiatric hospital in Scandinavia some years ago. So that's very sensitive information. No one wants to have their medical record openly available or sold to the best bidder. So, but again, I agree with Fernando. Government agencies are a big target today, but also industry companies. On the other hand, we've seen that financial companies may be suffering less attacks, or more than suffering less attacks, or being less impacted. They are better prepared. The finance sector is usually spending a lot of money in their cybersecurity and in mitigation.
Okay. Thank you. Well, we for the sake of timekeeping, we should be wrapping up. But I think Jose Saras has the very last question, so we can have this last question, and then we'll bring the event to an end.
Thank you very much. So one last question. So from my experience and from your presentation, I see that one of the weakest links, if not the weakest of all, is humans intervention. So Bob is the one that falls into a phishing scam and gives the credential, or they are approached by hackers. Bob is approached by hackers, and he agrees to give the credentials. But anyway, so how do you approach employees training as part of your cybersecurity solution? Meaning, you mentioned drills, that cybersecurity drills, but how do you cover also employee training? So would you recommend like tools, like online tools that are sent regularly to employees, giving them information, or encourage them, or even forcing them to read materials and then answer questions, or live presentations? So what's your take on this?
Jose, you've covered quite a few of the actions that are usually taken by companies that are putting this into practice. I'm not an expert on this subject. Cybersecurity has many different silos. I'm not onto this, but for what I know of tools I see in the market, something that is becoming more and more common is to do real, to provide some information to the employees, some basic information. Then those drills may be throwing a phishing campaign against your employees, control phishing campaign, and see who is able to act properly and who isn't. And then reinforce those who are not successful in detecting that this is a phishing attack, for example, on providing them more specific training.
Okay, thank you.
Very interesting. Well, now we are bringing our event to a close. Thank you very much. Thank you once again to our speakers today, to Borja, Inma, and Fernando. And thank you all for attending and for asking, for developing this interesting conversation. I hope you found it both interesting and useful. Later today, you'll be receiving an email with the recording of this session, the slideshows, and Inma's and Borja's contact. And if you have further questions, please don't hesitate to reach them out directly. They will be more than happy to help you and to continue the conversation. From our side, I'd just like to remind you that next Wednesday, 15th October, we are hosting a Melia Business Breakfast where we'll be welcoming the Minister for Scotland, Kirsty McNeill, MP. It will be an excellent opportunity to learn about the opportunities in the Scottish market and network over a Spanish breakfast. You can find all the information on our website. We look forward to welcoming you again soon. Thank you very much again, and have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye.